Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're only 50 subscribers away from 20,000 subscribers. I mean, I honestly, I'm absolutely over the moon with that. So big ups to every single one of you who watches all of the videos. If you are new, please do subscribe and let's hit that 20k mark today. Why not? So on the show this evening, we've got lots and lots to get into. We're going to be talking about some frustration from both of the bidders, both Qatar, Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. We'll be talking a bit about that. We'll also be talking a little bit about the potential return of David De Gea. Now, this one's a bit of more of a conversational piece. I will explain where this story has come from and a little bit later on in the show. And we'll also be talking a little bit about Jadon Sancho and a potential move to Saudi Arabia in the January transfer window. There's lots and lots of other stuff to get into as well, but those will be the main focus points. Please do get involved in the comment section, get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. And let's get straight on into it. Let's start the show off with a little bit about David De Gea. Now, this story surfaced earlier on today. I'm not sure however many of you follow David De Gea on Instagram. I do. David De Gea posted a picture of him in Manchester earlier and did like a geotag, where it says where he is, and he's in Manchester. Now, this has obviously turned Twitter into an absolute frenzy with people saying, is he coming back? Are they going to sign him as a free agent? Maybe he'll be like a player coach, a goalkeeper player coach. Obviously, there's lots of different options that could happen with this. I'm not sure if they will. You know what, right? I wanted to open this up to the chat. I wanted to open this up to the community. I wanted you guys to let me know. And I'm going to do a poll. Why not? Let's get a poll going. Everybody smash a like on the video if you haven't already. Let me just get a little poll going for you. Would you bring David De Gea back? Right. The poll has started. Please do get involved in the poll. The question is, would you bring David De Gea back? Obviously, this is as a backup. I'm not saying he should be the first choice goalkeeper. Maybe he should be. Some of you might think that. You know what? I said this in the summer. I would 100% bring David De Gea back. 100%. I would have kept him. I thought for this season, we should have had David De Gea as the number 2 and Onana as the number 1. We know how difficult it can be for goalkeepers to come to Manchester United and to kick off and to really, really cement themselves. We've seen that Onana's had a really, really torrid time of it. No matter what you think of Onana, he is a good goalkeeper. He kept a lot of clean sheets in the run to Inter Milan's Champions League final last season. He is a good goalkeeper. There's no doubt about that. But he's really, really struggling at the moment. And for me, if you could bring back David De Gea, if that was an option, obviously, yes, his wages were supposedly really, really high. For me personally, I would have brought him back. I would have liked to see David De Gea at Manchester United. Whether or not it will happen, I don't know. But he is in Manchester at the moment. That has been confirmed. We're not obviously sure what he's here for. Some people are saying, well, he could just be here to maybe sell one of his properties. We know that obviously he had a house in Manchester. When he's been here for what, 8 to 10 years. He was playing for Manchester United. He'll have property here. Maybe he was here to sell something. Who knows? Maybe he was just here for a holiday. But this is the first time that David De Gea has returned to Manchester since, being released from his contract, whatever it, parting ways with Manchester United, whatever you want to call it. Let me know in the comment section whether you would bring him back. Let me know your reasons why. If you don't want him back, let me know. If you do think he should come back, also let me know. And let's see what else people are saying. Jay says we need a shot-stopping goalkeeper. I agree with you, to be fair. And David De Gea is that type of goalkeeper. He is a shot-stopper. Yes, we're told that Onana has this elite distribution. He's unbelievable with his feet and all the rest of it. I haven't really seen that side of him yet. Yes, we're only 10 games into the season. Yes, he's had a shaky start. And I have no doubt that Onana is an elite shot, not an elite shot-stopper, sorry, an elite ball-playing goalkeeper. He definitely is, but we haven't seen that yet at Manchester United. It's something that we're longing to see. All summer we were told that David De Gea would David De Gea would go and our play style would change immediately. That hasn't happened yet, but we are only 10 games into a 60, 70 game season if we go further in the Champions League and if we go far on the League Cup and all the rest of it. There'll be plenty of games for us to play. So we'll have to wait and make our judgment at the end of the year. I'm not going to be slagging off Onana saying get him out of my club at this point. We're 10 games into the season. Let's give the guy a bit of a chance. But I would bring back David De Gea as maybe a goalkeeper coach / backup if that was an option. Right, let's move on to the next story though. I wanted to read out a couple of comments actually that have come out from Rennie Mullerstein He's been talking about Varane, and he has said Varane can't manage the pace. The Premier League is dynamic. Everything goes at 100 miles an hour. That's the big problem with the midfield. They don't have the energy, and that's how the defence struggles. And I really agree with him. I think that our problems in defence of this year have actually been more because of the lack of midfield, the lack of solidity. Is that the word? That the midfield hasn't offered us this season. It's been all over the place. Obviously, Casemiro, one game has a world-class game, another game has a shocker. He got substituted was it against Brentford? Yeah, he came off at half-time. And I do think that it is a bit of a concern, really, going into the rest of the season. What's going to happen with our defence? Obviously, Varane is injured again. Martinez is out for 2 to 3 months. Lindelof is an okay backup, but I don't think good enough to start. Maguire and Johnny Evans are okay backups, but again, not good enough to start. And it does then make you think, right, if we're having these types of thoughts in our defence, then what happens when we highlight our midfield? Yes, we brought in Amrabat, but I'm not convinced that what we have at the moment, with obviously Kobe Mainoo injured, McTominay, as we said on the show this morning, McTominay isn't a CDM. He's an attacking midfielder or even a striker. And I think we are really struggling in that midfield area. We're getting sliced through like butter against lesser teams at the moment. And that is all because of the lack of midfield that we have at this current moment in time. And I think that it does then put more pressure on our midfielders. I think we miss Fred as well, which sounds a bit crazy. I never thought I'd say that we'd miss Fred, but I honestly do think that we miss Fred. I do. I think he's a good player. Not world class, not good enough to start every single game for Manchester United, but Fred was a good squad player. I would have kept Fred at this point now for £8 million. It was a bit of a stupid deal, but it is what it is. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat then. Emmanuel says, are you telling me that David De Gea would play all these years and we won't replace him? Move on, mate. Let's look at the future. I'm saying that David De Gea for one season, right, whilst you have a new goalkeeper there to help him settle and help him adjust, I think that would have been the sensible decision. That's what I'm saying. I'm not by any means saying David De Gea should be here for the next 10 years. Like, definitely not. I was just saying for one season, keep him around, help him to, teach Onana by way of what it means to be a Manchester United player, what the pressures are. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying get Onana out. I'm not starting a petition to remove Onana from Manchester United. Far from it. I just think at this moment in time, we need a little bit of patience, obviously, with Onana, but also a little bit of a familiar face. And that's all I'm saying, Obviously, if you disagree, that's completely fine. Daz says Onana has been our biggest problem. He can't even save, and now he's not even playing out from the back. I don't want to start some sort of vendetta against Onana, but I do agree somewhat. I think he has been an issue so far. He's making a big mistake pretty much every single game at the moment, isn't he? And we're not seeing any playing out from the back because you can tell he's so nervous that he's just kicking the ball long every time he gets it. I think things will get better for Onana, though. I have high expectations for him. Obviously, the start has been absolutely terrible. We can all agree on that. He's been absolutely awful. But it can only get better for Onana from here. So let's hope that the second half of the season, once he comes back from the international break, let's hope that we see a better Onana. Obviously, there is the potential still that he might go off to the Africa Cup of Nations in January, which means we'll lose him for about 6 weeks. So we might see some of this Altay Bayindir, which I'm open to seeing. I think, he was highly regarded when he came into Manchester United and he hasn't had a single bit of game time in any competition. That's classic Erik ten Hag for you, though, isn't it? Erik ten Hag doesn't really like to rotate, and you can see why he's not rotating the goalkeeper. To bring Onana out in his time of need would be a massive confidence boost for him. So I think it's the most sensible thing to do. Leon says De Gea was given the chance to stay as a second goalkeeper and he refused. So what you were saying, I think the issue, Leon, was that Manchester United weren't willing to pay 375 grand a week, which is what David De Gea was on. For a second goalkeeper, which I agree with. I think keeping him on a lesser contract would have made a lot of sense, but if he was unwilling to accept less than that, then obviously we can see why he left. Paying a backup goalkeeper 375 grand a week is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even paying a first choice goalkeeper 375 grand a week is absolutely ridiculous, especially when you look at Man City, right? Ederson, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Ederson's on £180,000 a week. Just let that sink in for a minute. Alisson, again, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, in my opinion, is on £200,000 a week. So David De Gea was nearly earning double what Alisson was earning. And Alisson is clearly a far better goalkeeper. We can all agree on that. Emmanuel says, what's your thoughts on Casemiro playing at centre-back? I'd be open to it, mate. I would. I think it would be a good option. He has played at centre-back before, hasn't he? I think for Brazil. But whether we're at that point right now, I'm not sure. If the injury crisis continues, then I would expect to maybe see that happen. If we lose Harry Maguire or Johnny Evans, then we probably will have to see Casemiro at centre-back realistically. Whether or not that's the best place for him, maybe. I mean, he's very good defensively. He's very physical. He's not the quickest, but I would give it a try, yeah, if worse comes to worse. But it's not my number one priority. I would much rather see Manchester United sign a new centre-back in... I would much rather see a new centre-back in January than have Casemiro there. Real says, Onana sucks. Can anyone in the comments section tell me if Onana has ever won a Golden Glove? Yeah. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe he has in Italy. I'm not sure. I don't really follow Italian football, so I'm not entirely sure. Let's move on to the next story, though. Everybody who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe. We're only 50 subscribers away from 20k now, so if we can hit 20k by the end of this video, that would be absolutely incredible. So please do go and subscribe. I've just dropped a link in the chat. It doesn't cost any money. Let's try and hit 20k by the end. Why not? Let's all celebrate that moment together live on stream. Now, let's talk a little bit about, apparently, there is a pre-season game, not pre-season, what do you call it? Behind closed doors game that is going on today at Carrington against Barnsley. So this story is coming out from Chris Wheeler, who's a journalist in the UK, and he is reporting that Manchester United have arranged a behind closed doors game against Barnsley on Tuesday as several of their injured players near a return to action. So we are obviously expecting people like Amad Diallo, Kobe Mainoo, Reguilon. Plenty of players should be able to appear in that game. Obviously, when we get news on the score, who scored and all the rest of it, I will bring you that. But at the moment, we don't know what the final result was in that game against Barnsley. Or we know that the primary function or reason for the game was just to try and get people back to full fitness ahead of, post-international break. We want to see Amad, we want to see Kobe Mainoo, we want to see all of these players back in or around the team, at least being available as a substitute option, to come off the bench. I think it's very, very important that we start getting people back from injury now and we start trying to bring these people into our squad. Right, let's have a look at what people are saying in the chat quickly. Scott says, how much does Onana get paid per week? I think it was around 120. Let me just double check. It wasn't crazy wages. He's on 100 grand a week. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, so Onana's on 100 grand a week. When you compare that, right? Alisson's on 200. David De Gea was on nearly 400. I mean, 100 grand a week for me. Yes, people are upset with his performances so far, but I think 100 grand a week is pretty fair, to be honest. Obviously, 100 grand a week is a hell of a lot of money when you consider all of the mistakes and all the errors he's had so far. But if he comes good, then I think 100 grand a week is a fair price for Onana. But let me know what you guys think about that. I know everybody in the chat's going to look at it like black and white. You're giving a goalkeeper who's making a mistake every single week 100 grand a week. Like, it seems crazy, doesn't it? But if he starts performing, which hopefully he will, I think 100 grand a week would be a reasonable amount of money for Onana. But let me know what you guys think about that one in the comment section. Right. Let's move over to this story about the takeover and about Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So this has been coming out from Ben Jacobs, who has been talking on one of his podcasts earlier on today. And he is saying that apparently both Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are growing very frustrated by the Manchester United takeover. And then he goes on to say, my personal view is that we will get clarity on the Manchester United takeover before the end of the year. By late November, we will know more about the direction of the new owner. And he also goes on to say that on the potential of David Beckham becoming an ambassador for the Qatari bid. He says Beckham will also likely be involved with the strategy and the business side of the club as well. So that's interesting because I know quite a lot of you in the chat were very against, the ex-Manchester United legends being part of the club for anything more than being an ambassador. I think David Beckham's the one exception for me here, right? David Beckham, I think what he's done at Inter Miami, bringing in Messi to Miami, that's absolutely mad. He's completely blown up the level of the MLS. The MLS is, people actually watch it now. I know it's not the first time this has happened. I know, people like Zlatan Ibrahimovic have gone there. Obviously, Beckham went there. Henry played at New York Red Bulls for a bit. Like lots of big football players have played in the MLS, but none on the level of Messi. You know, this is the first one of that caliber in kind of my lifetime anyway. So I would be very open to seeing David Beckham have more of a role than just being an ambassador. But let me know what you guys think about that. Would you be open for David Beckham to be more involved if Qatar get the club, or would you rather us employ non-Manchester United related people who maybe are slightly more experienced but don't have that identity and DNA with the club? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section. Let's see what else he has been saying. Yeah, and he also goes on to say that the Manchester United takeover saga cannot continue into 2024 without some form of clarity, which I agree with. I think they do need to come up with an answer in the next kind of 2 to 3 weeks, because it's been nearly a year now. It's ridiculous. It's dragging on and on and on and on, and it's just getting ridiculous, isn't it? And everyone, I think, agrees with that. But let me know what you guys think in the chat. Let's see what people are saying quickly. Florian says, do you think Ollie Watkins can be a future Manchester United striker? I would take Ollie Watkins any day of the week. I would. I think Ollie Watkins is a good player. I do. I like Ollie Watkins. Is he good enough to start every single game for Manchester United? To be honest, yeah. I would say so at this point. You know, he's obviously not on the level of Wayne Rooney or a Van Nistelrooy or a Van Persie or like those types of people, but he's a very good goal scorer, isn't he? And he's done very, very well. If you look at his stats for last season, right? I'm just going to get them up for you quickly, but he did really well last season, and he's done really well this season so far. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists in 8 matches. He's averaging a goal or an assist every single game at the moment. When you compare that to Rashford, who's got 1 goal in about 10 matches, I mean, it kind of sums it up for you, doesn't it? And he got 15 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League last season. So yeah, that's 21 goals and assists. I'd be very, very happy with that. But let me know if you guys would like to see Ollie Watkins at Manchester United. I'd be interested in it. I think Ivan Toney could be a good option as well. We definitely need another striker. Rasmus Højlund is definitely one for the future, but we need something for the present as well. And I think having somebody else there who can maybe take the load off him would be a really, really sensible bit of business from Manchester United. Will that happen or not? I don't know. Who knows with Manchester United at this point? Anything, you know, your guess is as good as mine. So Ben Jacobs has also said the following about the takeover quickly. He said, so apparently this is what Sheikh Jassim has told the Glazers. He says, you either give us everything or we're walking away. So the stance is very, very clear for Sheikh Jassim. As we all know, he will not get into bed with the Glazers. He will not join, you know, go into business with them. He either wants the whole club or he's leaving. Simple as. And I agree with that 100%. I think it's the right thing to do. He has my utmost respect for that. And yeah, fair play to Sheikh Jassim for stamping his feet in the ground and saying, no, either we get what we want or we're leaving. Another quick one as well. Apparently Manchester United are interested in signing Benfica midfielder João Neves in January. We desperately need another midfielder. Yes, Amrabat's come in and has done okay, but there are question marks about how we're going to play in the next 5 to 10 years. You know, you've got an aging Casemiro. You've got Eriksen, who I think, to be honest, is a good player. You know, he can cut through defences, but I don't know whether he's up to the level of the Premier League anymore. By way of his legs, I think his legs have gone a bit. You've got Kobe Mainoo, who's again somebody for the future. McTominay, who we've established isn't really a midfielder, should be playing further up the pitch. And then you've got Amrabat, who's on loan, and there are question marks whether we'll actually keep him at the end of the contract. You know, we don't have to. So for me, someone like João Neves, 19 years of age, Portuguese player, unbelievable. He's the kind of player that if Man United don't get him, he'll go to Man City. I can already see him in a Man City shirt. He's going to be the big name of the next kind of 5 to 10 years. Him and Antonio Silva, those are the 2 names to keep an eye out for Manchester United. And they're the 2 people who I think would absolutely revolutionise our team. They're going to cost you 100 million euros though. 100 million euros for both of them. Will Manchester United do that type of deal? I don't think so. I don't think we're in the market for those types of players at the moment, especially if the season continues how it is at the moment and we then potentially don't qualify for the Champions League. I just want, do you know what, right? I just want to be a bit more like Chelsea, and people are probably thinking, what the hell is this idiot talking about? But the thing with Chelsea is, right, yes, they're struggling, but they've got a very young team. And you can see that eventually it will click with Chelsea and they're going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with. Mark my words. I honestly would not be surprised if Chelsea get top 4. I wouldn't. I have this feeling that they're going to go on a mad streak. Once they start finding their form, once they get people like Nkunku back and people like that, I think they're going to be unbelievable. I genuinely think that. And the thing with Manchester United, right, is I think we have a team at the moment for the present, and we're not competing at the present. So it makes you question what's going to happen in the future. If our team at the moment has people like Bruno, Casemiro, they're in there. I think Bruno's 29, 30 this year. Casemiro's 31. You've got Varane, who's 30. Like, a lot of our best players, a lot of the players that some people would call a world class, I'm not saying they're past it, because maybe Varane and Casemiro, you could potentially have that conversation. I'm not saying they are past it. I'm just saying that they're not as good as they were maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But they're all aging is what my point is here. Whereas you look at that Chelsea side and you think, well, even if they're not clicking at this moment in time, you know that in 2 or 3 years they're going to be clicking, and they'll all be like 23, 24. So they've got time on their side. Whereas us, we've got a team for the now, and it's not working in the now. So we do need to almost be looking to the future. And that's what I like about Erik ten Hag, where he's actually giving Hannibal game time. I want to see people like Ahmad getting game time. I want to see Pellistri, all of these people who could be our future, getting minutes on the pitch. Because otherwise, in a couple of years' time, people like Bruno, Casemiro, Varane would all be past it. And then we'll be stuck like, oh, we've got to buy 3 more £100 million players. Maybe we have a £100 million player sat in our academy. Maybe Kobe Mainoo could be a €100 million player. Do you see what I mean? Like, we need to be looking more at what we have in our academy, and not so much always looking at buying these massive players from outside of Manchester United. Let's see what else is saying. Andy says, why are you so negative on Rashford? I mean, Rashford scored 1 goal in 10 games. I wouldn't say that's negative. I'd say that's just being honest. I like Marcus Rashford. He's a good player. But to have scored 1 goal, is that good? I think it's 1 goal. Let me just fact check that before people come at me and say he scored 1.5 goals, or he scored 1 goal in 10 games. Like, is that good across all competitions? 1 goal in 742 minutes of football. I don't think that's very good personally, and you can tell that he's in a very low moment in his career. But yeah, obviously, if you think Marcus Rashford is having a good season, that's obviously completely up to you. Groovemaster says Varane and Casemiro are Real Madrid cast-offs. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far at this point. I think Casemiro and Varane are still very, very good players. All my point is that in the next few years, we will need to start finding somebody else to fill those positions. Not because they're not good enough, just because they're aging. And I think Manchester United know that. And as we've been hearing today, apparently a centre-back is the number 1 priority for the summer transfer window. Manchester United are currently scouting Antonio Silva from Benfica, Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice, Edmund Tapsoba from Bayern Leverkusen, and then also Gonçalo Inacio from Sporting Lisbon. So we know who the 4 players are. I think the cheapest would be Jean-Claire Todibo, with the most expensive, most likely to be Antonio Silva, who's got a release clause of around €100 million. Crazy for a 19-year-old. But that's what my point here is. Do we need to start looking more at our youth team? Maybe we have an €100 million player in the youth. Maybe we don't. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe some of you guys know more than what I know. AED says we need Qatar because we need about 6 new players. Yeah, I agree. I think we do need lots of new players, but we have to work with what we've got at the moment. And I'm a little bit sick of just spending and it not working. I would much rather, if we could, develop our own youth players, bring them through, and then, not be having to buy Antonio Silva, as an example, for €100 million just because we need a centre-back. Why do we not develop our own Antonio Silva? That's what I would like to see from Manchester United. And that's part of what attracted me to Erik ten Hag, because he had such a history of developing youth and bringing through youth players. And I think that we're slowly starting to see that. Michael says Chelsea, no way they'll get top 4. Poch is there to try and put a squad together like a puzzle, but owners keep changing the pieces. I hear you. I just have this feeling, right? I just have this weird feeling. They weren't in my top 4 prediction. I just have a feeling that they're going to go on a run, Chelsea. I think it's going to click and they'll start literally blowing teams away. They're only 6 points off top 4, okay? They're only 1 point behind us. So saying no way Chelsea are going to get top 4 is the same as saying we're not going to get top 4. We're 5 points behind Liverpool. Anything's possible in football. If we win 1 game and Liverpool draw, we'd be 3 points behind. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it's not that much of a gap. But let me know what you guys think. Michael says, does anybody know how good our Turkish goalkeeper Altay Bayındır is? I've never seen him play, to be honest, mate. I watched a couple of clips of him when we signed him, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Chris says, Do you think the Glazers have provided an environment for youth to develop? Our youth isn't good, and that's the simple truth. Yeah, I agree. I do. I think that you know, people want Qatar because they're going to build a new stadium. They're going to spend money on players and stuff. But for me, the most important thing is actually the infrastructure. It's what goes on behind the scenes. It's bringing in the proper scouts, bringing in people from an early. Because when you actually look through over the last kind of 10 years, right? When you look through people we've recruited for our youth academy, the only one I can really think of who's really, really made it, obviously I'm sure someone's going to call me out and say, what about this person? But is Garnacho. Like, Garnacho wasn't a youth player in the sense that he wasn't at Manchester United since he was 5 years old and all the rest of it, okay? He came from Atletico Madrid. He's the only one that I can really pinpoint that we've signed. So we bought Garnacho in 2020. I think so it was around £400,000 we paid for Garnacho in 2020. He went straight into our under 18s and now he's in the first team squad. There isn't many other examples of players that we've done that with. Obviously, like Rashford's been there since he was a child. Greenwood has. Lingard was there since he was a child. You know, all of these players that are the Manchester United youth players have been there since they were young. We haven't been very good at finding these youth players in other academies, bringing them in, paying money for them. One example was, I think, Zidane Iqbal. I think he was someone we brought in from somewhere else and we paid like $1 million for him. I think it was Zidane Iqbal. It might have been Omari Forson. One of the two. I'll double check now. I know somebody will want to know. But yeah, my point is, over the last kind of 5 to 10 years, the only real player we've recruited into our youth academy is Garnacho. You know, yes, we've brought through some other good players, but most of them have kind of come from youth level. So it wasn't, I'm not sure who it was I was thinking of. I think it was Omari Forson. So we brought through that Forson guy who looked pretty good in the... Who am I thinking of? I can't remember who I'm thinking of. My brain's gone numb. It was the person who played quite a lot of football in the pre-season and we sold to a club in the Netherlands in the summer. I can't remember. My brain's gone. My brain's not 100% here today. Let's see what else people are saying. Fred says George Best cost nothing. There you go. What else we got? Right, let's talk about the Sancho thing really, really quickly before we wrap up the show today. But yeah, keep getting your comments in. Everybody, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I think we're getting very close to this 20k mark now. Very, very close. Yeah, we're literally 45 subs away from 20k now, guys. So please do go and subscribe if you haven't already. And please do smash a like on the video. Right, where are we? Yeah, I just want to talk about this Sancho to Saudi story first before we end the video. Trying to remember where it was. There's a quick one here as well for anybody interested in this. I know some of you don't care about this anymore. Not care, that's not the right word, but have lost interest, let's say. Apparently, Anthony's ex-girlfriend, Gabriella Cavallin, will hold a formal interview with Greater Manchester Police on Thursday. So that case has not been dropped. For anybody who is wondering what's going on with Anthony, we're still waiting to find out what's going to happen. He hasn't had charges pressed against him, and that's obviously why he's available to play. But his partner, ex-partner, will be in Manchester this coming Thursday to do an interview with the Greater Manchester Police. What will come of that? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to bring into the show as well, actually. And you're literally not going to be able to believe this, right? So this is coming out again from Chris Wheeler. So apparently Manchester United, the Glazers, whoever you want to point the finger at, have now acknowledged that there is a roof leak over the Sir Bobby Charlton stand that needs replacing. So now they're admitting it, okay? The Glazers, Manchester United, are admitting that the roof is leaking. And it says that there are other repairs that are needed around the ground. And now it goes on to say that apparently the logistics of installing cranes cannot be done during the season without severely restricting the match day attendance. So apparently they're saying, right, they're not going to fix the roof until the end of the season because they don't want to affect the ticket sales of people who can come into the ground. I mean, what a load of rubbish. Literally, the season started, 3 or 4 weeks ago? The roof has been leaking for years. We all know that. We all know that the Old Trafford's crumbling. And they're only now, after pressure from fan groups and pressure from the Manchester United Trust and other places, admitting that the stadium is falling apart ultimately and admitting that the Sir Bobby Charlton needs its roof replacing. I mean, it's an absolute joke, isn't it? It's absolutely embarrassing, but it is what it is. What do you really expect from Manchester United? It's embarrassing to say that they're not going to fix the roof until the end of the season. I mean, hopefully that's because they know that the club is going to be for sale or is going to be sold, sorry. Hopefully that's the reason for it. Whether or not that is the case, I don't know. We'll all have to wait and see what happens with that one. Yeah, so in relation to Jadon Sancho to Saudi Arabia, apparently he nearly, so this is the story coming out from Jacques Talbot. Let me read it out really, really quickly for you. He's saying that Manchester United held talks over the summer for a potential move for Sancho to Saudi Arabia, but ultimately it fell too close to the deadline to get anything wrapped up. It is, however, an avenue that United will now continue to explore in 2024. So it looks like Sancho to Saudi is, I mean, to be honest, that's probably the most likely option realistically, because we know that they'll pay a fee. We know that they'll pay the wages that he wants, which is, I think he's on 350 grand a week. So I would say that that's one to keep an eye on. Obviously, the Saudi league is, it's people say that it's not a proper league, but you have got some serious players out there. You know, you've got Benzema, Kante, Ronaldo. Like, there are some good players in the Saudi league, and I wouldn't say that any of the people who've moved out there, you know, are any worse than Jadon Sancho, realistically. You know, they're all some of the greatest of the game over the last 10 years. You know, the Kantes, the Ronaldos, the Benzemas, amongst many others. I mean, even Ruben Neves, he could have gone to probably most teams in the Premier League, and he chose to go to Saudi. So for me, if we can get some money from Saudi for Jadon Sancho, I would send him there 120%. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me on the show this morning. I'm going to be live at 8:30 a.m. UK time going forward from now on. It was 8 o'clock before, but that was in the summer. Obviously, it's dark here in the UK now until about 8 in the morning, so I'm having a bit of trouble waking up. In the summer, I used to wake up at like 6 every morning because it's like light from about 5:30, isn't it? But now that the clocks are changing and it's getting darker, I will be live at 8:30 a.m. UK time every single day. So anybody who's coming at 8 and thinking, where is he? 8:30. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Please do make sure to smash a like. Please do subscribe on your way out. As I said, we're literally about to hit 20k, so please do make sure to do that. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice evening, everyone. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak to you all later.